right, we are ready to rock on these homework problems. I'm going to go pretty quickly here, but I'm guessing you already checked yourself in a calculator. So you're only watching this if your graph looked different and you don't know why. So my first step is in behavior. I'm going to look at the highest powered term. It is positive, so it's like a quadratic, and the quadratic will face up because this is positive in the front. So even and positive are the keys. So my in behavior looks something like that. Okay, my y-intercept, I'm plugging in a 0 everywhere. So 0 plus 0 plus 0. So there's my y-intercept. And my x-intercept, I'm trying to factor this out. So for me, I would say x squared plus 2x plus 6, okay? And then I would factor this down again. I just took an x squared out of each and every term. Now, what goes into 6? Let's see. That's either 6 times 1 or 2 times 3, or what is it going to be? Dang it, it doesn't factor. Okay, so when this happens, then this is going to turn into a quadratic formula. Okay, so that's okay. So we've got this factor still, but this one we've got to figure out. So minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Okay, and then we're going to reason through this. Okay, negative 2 plus or minus. Okay, this I can already tell is a mess. This is going to be a negative number, and I don't even care what negative number it is. I'm going to stop right here because these are i's, and if they're i's, they are non-real. And if they're non-real, that means there is no x-intercept that comes from this part of the problem. So the only x-intercept I'm going to have is the one that came from when I factored that out. So 0, 0 is going to be my only x-intercept because that's, you know, x equals 0 or x squared equals 0 when x equals 0. So yeah, so I don't have a lot to go by with this graph. So pretty much when I go to graph it, I have this point, and I know that it goes up on both sides. So, you know, my guess for this is just a quadratic. If it does anything funky in the middle, I won't really know about it. And if you want to grab a graphing calculator and check that out, we can see how close we are. I'm actually not worried about checking it on a graphing calculator. I'm going to be okay with my guess. It may be a little off, but I'm okay with that guess because it meets all of these criteria. Okay? All right, number 2. Number 2 is f of x is 5x squared minus 16x plus 3. Is that right? Okay. So this is number 2, and in behavior, okay, there's the leading term, and it's positive, and it's x squared. So once again, this is a quadratic, so it's going to be going up on both sides. This will be some type of parabola. Like, there's no trick here. It is definitely a parabola, okay? Now, my y-intercept, I plug in a 0, and all that leaves behind is a 3. So that's my y-intercept. My x-intercept, I need to try to factor that. And I will give it a shot factoring real quick. And then if that doesn't work, I'll have to use quadratic formula again. Yay! Not really. Okay. Let me do this. I think I see it. I think it's a minus 3 and a minus 1. Because if I FOIL this, minus 15, minus 1. Okay, that does work. This works. And when I factor that, then I set each parenthesis equal to 0. So I'm getting 1/5 and 3. Okay, so my x-intercepts are 1/5, comma 0. And 3, comma 0. Okay, notice I like to write everything as a coordinate, and your teacher will like that about you too. So please write it all as a point. All right, now we graph. So 0, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 1/5, 0, 1/5, 0. So like right here. Okay, so I want to play connect the dots. I know it's a parabola and it goes up on both sides. So if I go to the furthest point to the left and make it go up from there, it's something like that. If I go to the furthest point to the right and make it go up, it's something like that. And all that that really tells me is that the vertex is somewhere in between these. And I don't know how low it is. If you are uncomfortable with this and you're like, well crap, I really want to know like how low does that vertex go, you may remember a formula from last year of minus b over 2a, and that helps you find the x value. And then if you plug that back in, f of minus b over 2a, if you get a number from doing that and then you plug it back in, you'll know exactly how low. But that's a lot of work and it's a lot of fraction math, and I don't really care enough to do that. It's going to be like 10x minus 16. It's going to be like 8/5 or something, and then you'll have to plug in 8/5 back in, and it's just ugly. So I don't care how low it goes, but feel free to do that if you care. All right, number 3. F of x equals x squared minus 5x minus 1. Okay, another quadratic. So this quadratic is positive, so I know it's going to be up on both sides. And I plug in a 0, and I know my y-intercept is 0, -1. My x-intercept, I'm going to try to factor. Now I can already tell when I look at this, I cannot factor this, so I'm actually going to go right into the quadratic formula. So minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. And this is going to end up being 5 plus or minus the square root of 29 over 2. Now, that means that it's 5 plus root 29 over 2, comma 0, and it's 5 minus root 29 over 2, comma 0. Now, you're going to have to totally approximate this. If I don't think you're going to be given a calculator to really figure out what that is. So we're just going to guess, because like the square root of 29, okay, the square root of 25 is 5. So this is a little bit more than 5. So I'm going to think of this as like a 5.3, okay? So 5 plus 5.3. So it's a 10 point something over 2, which makes it a 5 point something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 point something. Don't you love how exact this is? Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. 5 minus a 5.3-ish, or 5 point whatever. So this is going to be a negative point whatever divided by 2. So it's like a little small decimal. Gosh, what would that be? Like, let's pretend it's still a decimal. It's not even 1, so it's going to be somewhere in here. And then my y-intercept was at -1. And I know it goes up, up. So if you imagine a parabola and you just start playing connect the dots, you will see that it's something like that. The vertex will be right in the middle of those, so you could make sure that that's like your lowest point, I guess. Like that kind of. But we don't know exactly how low it goes unless you want to do the thing from earlier, the minus b over 2a, like I showed you on the last one. But I'm okay with that. All right. And the last one. Hopefully it does something a little bit more interesting, but we never know. So the last one is 5x to the 4th minus 28x squared plus 32. Okay, so this one, let's do end behavior. This is even, so once again it's like a quadratic, and it's positive in the front, so it will be up again on both sides. When I plug in a 0 for these, I get a 32, so good grief. Already I can tell this is going to be fun to graph. It's way up here at 32. And then for the last part, I'm either going to factor or do the quadratic formula. I always try to factor first, even if it's difficult. Remember, factoring's okay because these are in the 2-to-1 relationship. So let's see, that means these have a squared on them. And 32, gosh, I don't know, could it be 4 and 8? I think it is, maybe 4 here and 8 there. Let's see if this works. That would be a minus 20 and a minus 8. So there's my minus 28 and then a plus 32. So that does work. So now I set each of these equal to 0 and solve. This is going to be ugly. When I set this equal to 0, I'm going to get x squared is 8/5. So x is plus or minus the square root of 8/5. This one will of course just be plus or minus 2 when you solve it. And now I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 x-intercepts. Okay, and you can write them all as points if you like. So 0, 32. So we're going to pretend like this is 0, 32 up here. I'll just go ahead and there we go, 32. Okay, plus or minus 2. And on my other x, okay, so plus or minus the square root of 8/5. Yikes. Okay, well 8/5 is like a 1 point something, and then I'm taking the square root of a 1 point something, so it's going to be like a little baby nothing decimal. I don't know exactly what that decimal is, but I know it's a little bitty decimal, and so I'm just going to put those there. So now what? Okay, I know the graph is supposed to go up on the left and up on the right. So I go to the far left, and I'm going to make it go up. I'm making it go higher up because it would look weird if I wrote a baby arrow here and then it goes really high in the middle. That would look bizarre. So now I just play connect the dots. So if I follow the trend of my hand, this comes through this point, and then it's got to go down, keep going down, and then it'll come up and hit this point, and then it'll come up and grab this, and then it'll go back down to the next one and then back up. So I'm guessing it's going to be a pretty uniform W. These may or may not be at the same height. I don't know. Maybe one droops lower than the other. I don't know. We are just kind of having to guess here. I went ahead and put it as a pretty uniform W. But, you know, look on the calculator and see what it actually does. So, once again, like I said, if you are a perfectionist, you will not like this unit because there's a lot of guesses and approximations, and some people just really hate that. So, sorry, but that's your new world of leaving Algebra 2 and heading into Pre-Cal and getting confident in yourself as an estimator. So hopefully this went okay, and I'll make up some more interesting ones in tutoring.